The Endgame has arrived, the fallen have been avenged, and now that we've seen arguably the biggest movie of our lives, we have a lot to talk about. I'm Moose Lepresto, and today I'm joined by Versha Sharma, Shane Bossaire, Andrew Rivera, and together we are here to have an extremely spoiler-filled discussion about Avengers Endgame. How are we doing, everybody? Thank you for joining me.
Great. Very excited.
Everyone's seen the movie, no spoiler warnings, nothing needed. You didn't go to the bathroom and miss something, you don't want me to spoil it?
Thought about it.
I held it.
Excellent.
Had to hold it.
Had to hold it.
Had to hold it.
Had to hold it, Moose.
Well, I thought we would start with our impressions of the movie. I think it's pretty safe to say that we all kind of liked it a little bit. So instead of going around that, I just wanted to start out by asking, what is the one standout moment that's going to stay with you forever? What is the one that got the biggest reaction in your theater and the one that just got the biggest reaction for you, Andrew?
Okay. Hands down, Captain America, Thor's hammer.
Yes! It was so good.
I swear to you, I convulsed in ways I've never convulsed when viewing a thing in my entire life. I couldn't even control myself.
Accurate.
Yeah.
My husband said I squealed in a way he's never heard me squeal before. And the rest of the theater did too, though.
Yeah.
Everybody had that reaction.
Yeah.
The definitive fan service moment.
Yes.
It's like, oh, he could have two of them. Why not do it?
Yeah.
And
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the way, obviously him picking it up was so exciting, and Thor's reaction, he's like, I knew it! That was like such an excellent, joyous reaction, but then seeing him proceed to kick Thanos' ass with both the hammer and the shield
He gave him the business.
was amazing.
He gave him all the business.
Yeah.
Now this begs the question, did Captain America somehow become worthy since Age of Ultron, or was he worthy during Age of Ultron and was he just pretending not to be able to pick it up?
I've seen both theories. I think he became worthy because we've got a man who spent the last 5 years grief counseling the world, and he's now in a moment in the ultimate battle against their ultimate villain, trying to save his friend. Like, what could be more worthy than that moment? It's much more worthy than trying to pick it up at a party, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the stakes were just so high. I think that was a lot of it too. You know, the universe kind of speaking on it. It's like, this is the moment. You're ready.
Big players play big in big games. What's your favorite moment, Shane?
Ooh, my favorite moment has to be just the return. Like,
Yes.
specifically the shot of T'Challa and Shuri
Yes.
walking through with fucking halos behind them, just the golden landscape of Wakanda. I just love that they were the ones to really herald it. I think we were applauding for like 5 minutes straight. Like every single person that was coming back. Oh, Peter's here. Oh, Doctor Strange is here. It was great.
Yeah, it was so different from Infinity War because the reaction in the theater was like, oh my God, Black Panther's getting disintegrated, gasps and shocks and screams, and it's the exact polar opposite reaction.
Yes.
Black Panther shows up, probably like the exact same time code in the movie.
That would be interesting.
And like the polar opposite reaction, everyone goes nuts.
Yeah.
That whole scene was extremely cool. So many people are in there. Howard the Duck is in there. That's
Yes.
recently been
Wait,
spotted.
what?
Howard the Duck was in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
saw that and I was like,
scene.
I did not see it. I like read that on Reddit later, and I was like, I have to pay attention to that next time I go. But I
Yeah.
think Spidey actually got the loudest applause in our
He
theater when he
for me
came
too.
swinging back through. People
story-
lost their shit.
Queens loves Spider-Man. He got the biggest pop.
True.
I was very surprised.
hometown.
What was your biggest moment, Versha?
Well, I guess since Andrew took Cap and Mjolnir, I'll say my biggest moment, oh God, there's so much, I can't. I mean, America's ass, that was a great moment, right? That was amazing. But like, emotionally, getting to see Cap and Peggy dance at the end of the movie, I mean, that was all I wanted. It was all I wanted, and I'm so happy that we got to see it.
Yeah, it made me cry.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads us into our next question, because we were just talking about this big giant battle scene with hundreds of characters and CGI gleep-glops getting blown up by lasers, but really this movie was about 2 characters, right? Like Infinity War was kind of a big hodgepodge, but this was about 2 characters. It was about Captain America and Iron Man. And I wanted to ask you, Versha, how did you feel about how Captain America and Tony's arcs resolved? Because I noticed in that video you did of ours, you kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yes, if you haven't watched it, go watch the NowThis Nerd about the nerd video about the saga of Steve and Tony, because I think, again, like if you're just kind of like reading the movies and looking at the way that the filmmakers have built their arcs, both of their endings in this movie were incredibly emotionally satisfying. Of course, in Tony's case, heartbreaking, but it made sense. It made sense for their arcs. Like from the moment that Steve tells Tony in Avengers 1, you're not the one to make the sacrifice play, I feel like his fate was set. Like we're gonna see him do that at the end of the movie, and we did. And that moment where, first of all, I was very happy that Pepper came to the battle. I thought that was awesome. And when she tells him, you know, you can rest now, like you've done it, you finally saved the world, it's what you always wanted to do. That was heart-wrenching and beautiful.
And also, like, just to your point, like, we start with Tony Stark as an arms dealer, and he's in the business of death.
Yes.
And for that the complete 180,
180.
180, yeah. It's not a 360. He's not going back to death. But that 180 switch from him being a weapons dealer to him saving all the lives he possibly could, it's like such a perfect way to end his arc.
He does kind of go back to death because he does use the gauntlet to disintegrate like hundreds and
I was thinking
hundreds
about
of
it's the
living
Jericho.
beings.
It's the Jericho all over
Yeah,
again,
it's
man.
the Jericho missile.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Tony. I was a little ambivalent when I first saw the movie and I saw he has a daughter and he's married. I'm like, okay, well they can't kill him off now, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a chief. I thought he was actually going to put up a much bigger fight about not joining, not helping figure out time travel and not joining the fray.
Yeah.
Because he has something to live for now. Like I was a little surprised when he's like, I figured it out, and then he just like immediately tells everyone and like signs up, pretty much knowing he's gonna die.
Because I think he misses it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what he lives.
Yeah.
That's what he lives for.
Exactly.
The moment where he discovered time travel is the shit that he lives for, and Pepper knows that too. That's
Exactly.
all of the Pepper dialogue was so sad
Yes.
because it's like she finally gets what she wants and she knows that it's not gonna last.
Yeah, and it is sad because he has a daughter, but I was glad he at least got the 5 years with them, right? And he got to go back and talk to his dad. That was a very
Yeah.
important moment too for him to get that closure.
Love the Jarvis, little Jarvis
Yeah.
moment in
Yeah.
there too.
Well, speaking of things like characters live for, another thing, I guess I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. I really did love how everything ended out. But, so Captain America, I mean, what does he live for? He lives for, standing up for the little guy, not kowtowing to bullies and protecting people. So now he's going to spend the rest of his life from 1945 to 2023 when this ends. He's going to have to watch a lot of bad stuff happen and sit on the sidelines knowing like he can't interfere. I don't know. I'm very glad Cap got to have a happy ending. I'm glad it happened in this movie. But I could have seen another world where like he had the opportunity to go back with Peggy and he's like, I can't, Peggy. I have too much.
But I think he can interfere with
Yeah.
some of it. So this is like the big question:
Yeah, the time
branched reality,
Oh, yeah.
the time traveled, plot holes, loopholes, whatever you want to call it. So the film Russo brothers said that he is living in a branched reality when he goes back with Peggy. So we have the Cap that we've seen for the last 22 movies, still doing all the shit and saving the world, and then we have happy Cap and Peggy in a branched reality,
Nice.
and that's what we see. So I don't think he necessarily has to sit on the sidelines. We have no idea what they get up to in that other universe.
That's true. I would just love to see how Captain America goes back and like returns all those Infinity Stones. Like,
Oh, when
I'll
is he
watch that
talk to
movie.
Red Skull?
Yeah.
What was
That'd
it like
probably
when he
be-
saw Red Skull?
That'd probably be like something that they're optioning to be like a Disney Plus show, maybe.
Yeah.
Watch that one-shot comic come out next week.
Yep, Cap saves the universe. Yeah.
well, I mean, so obviously these two were like the big linchpins. They're the ones going, but obviously there's another character we had to say goodbye to. That was very shocking.
I was totally surprised.
This one was very surprising, even though, again, apparently she spoiled it on Jimmy Fallon or something a few
I
weeks
didn't
ago.
see that.
Yeah, it was like a few weeks ago. Scarlett Johansson was on one of the late night shows, and she said, "Yeah, you're not going to see me again after this movie," or something. And everyone kind of let it breeze by.
What?
There was like, "Oh, they're making a Black Widow movie. She's not going." Nothing's going to happen to her, but indeed, she did. Were you guys okay with that? Like, how did you feel about that? Tough one.
Emphasize all around. I cried a whole lot. I cried a whole lot at that part. I was not expecting it. Again, I do think they did an effective job of telling her story and that it made sense for her arc. Like, while everybody else was kind of splintering during the 5-year gap period, she was trying to keep everybody together and keep the Avengers together, and she talks about how they're her family. So they're at that point now where they're about to do it. They're about to save the world. She's like, what else do I need to live for? This is what I live for. And so she sacrifices herself. And I thought it made sense. I thought it was also very fitting that she and Hawkeye go out fighting each
Yes.
other. I loved that. I thought that was a nice touch, but I was totally surprised by that.
I think every single movie with, like, I've talked about this before, with a large Avengers roster has at least one scene where we get to see them fight. The fact that in this movie they were fighting over who gets to die gave that scene such a huge impact to me. Because it's just, she's trying to help her friend who wants to kill himself out of like bullshit reasons, depression, his family's gone. But she is indeed just trying to keep their family together.
Yeah.
And his role, despite how human Hawkeye and how much I don't really care for Jeremy Renner specifically, I think that he's very important. It's important to have those human characters. And so she made the right call. I'm sad about it, but
What do you think, Andrew?
I don't know. I could have lost Hawkeye.
Really?
That could have been Hawkeye.
I feel like it almost would have diminished like Scarlett Johansson's contribution, like as one of the big three.
Yeah.
Like it is about more than Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. Right? Like she's
Absolutely.
there. She's like. Isn't she one of the first characters you see?
She's in Iron Man too.
Yes.
Well, I'm just talking in the first Avengers movie. Like,
Oh.
Yeah.
she's like one of the first when she's tied up in the chair doing
Yes.
the Russian undercover job. Like,
Yeah.
she's really important to this whole thing too. And I'm sure Scarlett Johansson wants to move on, even though again she is doing the Black Widow movie, which is weird. But I don't know. I just feel like it kind of like elevated her status as like this is the old guard. They're really important, and she deserves having this big giant Endgame style send off.
Yeah.
I think it would have diminished her character, or I guess her importance to the saga if she had survived. You know what I'm saying?
I read that they were going back and forth between
Yeah.
should it be Hawkeye or Black Widow. That makes sense. And I think one of the executive producers, she said, "Don't you take this away from her. Like it is her sacrifice to make this is a huge thing for her." And I thought that was very poetic. That was a great way to put it.
Well, so we talked about the big three. Obviously, there's plenty more characters in this movie, but it's more than just, the conclusion to 2 characters or 3 characters arcs. This is a conclusion to 11 years and 22 superhero movies. And do you think they stuck the landing? Like Andrew?
Oh, for sure. I don't think that we're in our lifetime going to see another movie event as big as this. Even if there's a culmination with all another 22 movies ending in an Endgame style movie, I don't think it'll ever come as close to the iconicism and sheer weight that these movies have for the moment in time in which they came out. Period. I don't think that anything's going to top this. It might top it monetarily, but I don't think that it'll have the same gravity because the precedent has been set by these movies. So I don't think that it'll be as special as it was now.
Yeah, they were the first to do this.
Yeah.
This like basically television type storytelling on the big screen. This was the first version of that across 22 movies. Yeah, there's not going to be anything like it again.
My optimism is through the roof also.
Yeah.
Like, if we have something, like you said, like this, where, because this felt very much like a send-off to the old Avengers, but also a setup. They bring everyone back, and now we live in this golden age where these heroes are inspired by, the sacrifices of Captain America and Black Widow and Iron Man. So, what are they going to do when they move into the next version of that? I don't think we'll feel the same weight as like, wow, they birthed this world, and how
Yeah.
will they go on with it?
I really like how there is a setup for a future, but at the same time it very much felt like an ending. Like
And-
one of the biggest and like best surprises for me was that there was no mid-credit scene, there was no stinger.
know.
We just got that awesome Star Trek 6. The cast signs
Yes.
their name.
I loved
was
that.
so cool.
I love
I
that.
loved it. I'm like so glad they didn't like have everyone have shawarma or anything like that. It's just like, bye everybody,
Yeah.
signing their name. That's what I'm doing in the air in case you couldn't.
And the sound of Iron Man building
Yeah.
that suit in
Yeah.
Afghanistan,
Yeah.
that was the perfect stinger. I
Yeah.
thought.
There were like so many people like, oh, does that mean that kid was at his funeral and found his workshop and ended up making his own Iron Man suit? I'm like, no.
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 All right. Well, we clearly love the movie. Amazing, great stuff, but it wasn't perfect. There were.
Oh,
It wasn't
yeah.
perfect.
Did we
there
have-
are questions.
Did we
Yeah,
have
let's go
any?
off.
So yeah, there are some questions. Again, none of this took away from my enjoyment of the movie. I really, really liked it a lot.
Same.
Like we could get into the time travel stuff, but the movie pretty much explicitly tells you, do not worry about any of this time travel stuff. It's not supposed to make sense. Just go with it.
Yes, which I
And-
loved. I loved
yes.
that reference.
It-
The only thing they were missing was a Doctor
Doctor
Who
Who,
reference.
yeah.
I was waiting.
I said that when we were walking out of the theater. I
Yeah.
was like, why? They listed every single time travel thing in existence except for Doctor
They
Who.
even mentioned Quantum Leap, which
I
is a
know.
great throwback, but you got to get Doctor Who in
no.
I
there.
get Doctor Who in there.
It may not stand up to the most scrutiny when you start going in the comment section, reading people like trying to make diagrams and stuff. Doesn't matter. No skin off my back. But one thing I kind of didn't feel as strongly about this movie as I did about Infinity War was Thanos, right?
Oh.
Thanos, Infinity War was Thanos' movie, right? He was the main character. He was the Marvel Cinematic Universe most fleshed out, most realistic, just the heaviest villain they had. And then they killed him in 10 minutes, and then they brought another version of him who's literally just a cackling madman who wants to destroy all the universe. Like, do we think that, do we miss the old Thanos?
I didn't hate it.
Really?
I didn't hate it. I'm with you.
I actually loved it.
Yeah, I loved it.
Go ahead. No, you go.
No, I was just gonna say it was a huge surprise when Thor just chops off his head and
was
walks
awesome.
away, and it fades to black. And I think I was just like open mouthed at that part. I was like, "Holy shit! What are they gonna do for the rest of the movie?"
They caught Thanos wearing a T-shirt.
Yes.
Like he had just got back from moving the car outside.
They got my man's on laundry day.
Yeah. And he looked like he hadn't shaved. And I was like, Thanos shaves then because he's got scruff going on. And I love and I love that. Like immediately, they're like, Nebula's like, oh, I know where he is. And like, well, then let's go. And then like 2 seconds into you seeing him at peace, he gets his door kicked the F in, and he gets his stuff tossed. Is the most PG way I could say it.
Yeah.
Because it was that was satisfying, and I like that this mad character, this madman, going back in time, being birthed with the information that he succeeds, of course it's going to make him such a linear person, because if you knew that you would succeed, your madness is kind of fizzles out, I feel. Like the madness in terms of like in tandem with like your goal. If you know that you succeed in your goal, then you cease to feel any doubt. And like, I don't know, it made sense to me.
I 100%. I think what defines Thanos in Infinity War is his love for his children, like, or lack thereof, and like Gamora being the linchpin of his whole thing.
Right.
Whereas like Gamora's on her, I really feel like that's how he failed in this movie, was to keep tabs on his kids.
Yeah.
And he was just evil. He
But he was
knows everything
still,
he's gonna do.
I thought he was still intimidating, right? When he gets to Avengers headquarters and he just like sits there and it's like, I'm just gonna wait. They're gonna come to me. And then also when he sees himself die in the future, I thought it was really interesting to see his reaction, which was totally calm and measured. And it's like, that's destiny fulfilled. That's what it looks like. I'm totally fine with that because I did what I had to do.
And it sets the precedent for how we, the audience, consume the deaths of characters in the movie, because sometimes that's what destiny looks like. It's crazy. Like, Thanos is such a reflection of what could go wrong with all these heroes, and at the end of the movie, having everything go right, it's almost like the self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh no.
Did you catch that one moment where it seemed like Cap was almost making his argument for him, though? Because he's like, I saw a pod of whales coming through the Hudson. Fewer ships, cleaner water. It's like, that's Thanos' whole argument. It's like, improve the environment.
Wait.
But then Black Widow stops him, so it's fine.
I loved how he came through at the end and switched his plan. He was like, nah, I'm coming for 50%. I'm coming for all of it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's true.
taking all of your shit. It was scary.
It was cool to see him lose his philosophy.
Yeah,
He was just full of it.
Which I think makes him, that really made him the Mad Titan.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is his downfall. The fact that yes, decimating 50% of all life in the universe is fucked up.
And significant.
But like the fact that he was like, I'm going to abandon my like ideology to like show you how much I want to destroy you becomes his Achilles heel.
Wow, and that sets him completely opposite of Cap also, who's like, I'm gonna stick with my ideology until the end of this movie.
The end of
this movie.
Until the end of this movie.
And then I'm out.
We're in a movie, right?
Destiny fulfilled.
All right, well, I think you guys done a great job justifying Thanos. Were there any other characters, though, that you felt this film did a disservice to? And Andrew, I know you had issues. with Fat Thor.
Yeah, I hated Fat Thor. Here's the thing. I feel as though Marvel and Disney have a responsibility when you're showing these movies that, we're like 20-something, 30-something-year-olds talking about like superhero movies, but like ultimately the goal is that kids are going to watch them because it's the most accessible to a child. When you're showing a kid that it's funny that somebody got fat, especially when that person got fat because of grief and alcoholism, then play it up for, look, they didn't do a lot of like, haha, Thor's fat jokes, but they did enough where I was like,
enough.
I just felt like it was like, oh, this will be a funny thing that we can put in the movie that'll be funny. Thor is the funny guy. They did Ragnarok, so we have to like continue this whole thing where Thor is like the funny person. So wouldn't it be funny if Thor was fat? It's just like, it felt lazy.
It was lazy, and it was weirdly cheap for, I think, filmmakers who we expect a lot from at this point.
Also, they're funny. Like, the writers are funny, but also Chris Hemsworth is funny, and he carried it. And he did a good job.
He did.
Also, like, I agree, like, they could cut 3 or 4 jokes that just didn't need to be there.
Yes.
It was the Cheese Whiz one that set it over for me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, Yo, like the Lebowski one worked.
The Lebowski one was a
I was like,
level
that's-
Lebowski.
They should have just done Lebowski jokes across the board.
Yeah.
That would have been way better than just like.
And at the end, when he does the handshake with Valkyrie, and then they like zoom back to his stomach, and it's like totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like really cool, significant
forgot
moment.
about that.
I forgot that too. Yep.
But I will say, even though it wasn't explicit, I liked that he didn't have to go through a physical transformation
So
and
hyped.
lose weight. Like
That
he
was-
was still badass
Yeah.
with Mjolnir and Stormbreaker at the end.
And the armor. I
And
was
the
like,
armor.
I have to tell you that when I saw that they were doing the fat thing, immediately what in my head was, I really hope they don't cheap this out. And they're like, and he's like, I'm gonna go for a week away to
I
train.
thought he was just gonna get struck by lightning and be skinny again.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
also for me, a lot of it was like he looked like your dad, and I loved it. I'm serious. I was like, yo, he's kind of evoking that.
Odin?
Yeah, that Odin.
Yes.
Odin's son.
Yeah,
It-
I
I
didn't
loved
even think
it.
of that.
I thought about that a little bit. I was like, he looks a lot kind of like Odin right now.
Yeah, on sheer like body type visibility shit, even
Yeah.
though Chris Hemsworth is Adonis, like I was like here for it until they,
Adonis.
until they kept going.
And I did like the braided hair.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah,
that.
I will say, as a
Nice.
gentleman of size, Fat Thor didn't bother me that much, but it was cool to see him being just a big old superhero flying around at the end, like just loving life and going on adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think it was a double-edged sword. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's because of what you said. It's cool that he's this new Thor
He's
that's
still
still
badass.
badass.
Yeah.
I just wish they did it more tastefully.
Yes.
What do we think of Hawkeye becoming a vigilante murderer?
Oh,
I got a lot to say about
I'm
that.
sorry, that was my first line.
worst.
I got a lot to say about
Yo,
that. Somebody else should go.
say it.
Somebody else should go.
Well,
Because
here's the
Versha, or Shane?
no.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm over this, Clint Eastwood shit and just having him kill all these people of color, and we're supposed to be like, yeah, all right, the cartel's gone, all right, the fucking Yakuza. Like, have him take on.
I don't know. Like I didn't hate the idea
Yeah.
of it. I don't hate the idea of it. I could see somebody going mad from grief, turning to that lifestyle. But it did also feel like the Avengers accepted him back very quickly. No questions asked, and whatever, this is like the ultimate battle to save the universe, but there was like no discussion besides, the 2 minutes with Black Widow that's like, you shouldn't be doing this.
The Avengers have killed a lot of people. Iron
Yeah.
Man's killed a bunch of people. Captain America, Black Widow, like the
Black
Avengers.
Widow's ledger is
That's
Yeah,
true.
red.
That's true.
the whole team has a lot of red in their ledger. I don't know. They're usually willing to let a lot of things slide. And I kind of liked his reason. He's like, 50% of the people are gone, and you stayed while my family's gone. That is unacceptable.
Yeah.
I did like that line.
That
It
was
like,
neat.
they had Thanos, you had me.
right.
Yeah.
What do we think about Captain Marvel? Who just had this big $1 billion movie, and everyone's like, she's integral to Endgame. She's going to be the linchpin of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's going to be, the key to Avengers solving the thing. And she just off to space for 2.5 hours
Yeah.
and shows up for like 7 minutes.
But
in the
destroys
whole
the
movie.
ship.
She does destroy
Huge
the
moment.
ship.
And the whole beginning of the movie is like her story. It was really
she
after
rescues
the
Tony.
title card, you're like, oh, I thought she was gonna be in more of this movie.
Yeah.
But
I did not have a problem with that because this movie, as we've talked about, is about the OG 6 Avengers. Like, she's got multiple more movies to lead the franchise. Like, she's gonna be fine. So I didn't hate it, and actually, I was so consumed by all the awesome things happening in the final battle, I had forgotten about her until she showed up, and then I was like, oh shit. Captain Marvel's here. That's awesome. And I did think they did a very good job of when she says, there are a lot of other planets out there going through this, and they don't have you guys. They only have me. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot
I
of
love
sense.
that that's her whole thing too. Is she's like, I'm like the universe's cop. I'm like everybody's superhero. So like, chill out. Like,
Yeah.
you know that when I'm here, I can blow up a whole spaceship. So like, relax. Like,
true.
it's very cool that like, yeah. Because also you as like Marvel have to like be cognizant of the fact that she is a Deus Ex Machina, and you can't just have her there because she can just solve a problem like that.
Right.
But yeah, you can't. Like, I would be like you would have to make Thanos so hyper powerful that it almost doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If she's
Yeah.
gonna be there the entire film.
Did enjoy when he headbutted her and there was like nothing.
that
That was great.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I think I lost my point. I think that she, her role, I think in the beginning of the movie was also to show that Braun doesn't necessarily, so her and Thor just coming through and cleaning the floor with Thanos. Like, it shows that Braun is not going to solve this problem specifically, and I don't think that that defines her character, but I think that they wanted to focus on the main people and also showcase how powerful she is, and give them the chance to, you know, kind of solve their problems on their own.
Yeah.
I did like the scene where Widow is talking to, like, just different people across the globe and throughout space who are just on this shit because this is our lives now.
So there's been a lot of talk about the whole sort of Lady Avengers Assemble moment.
Yes.
A lot of people are calling it like too little, too late. You know, like what? I mean, Versha, what did you think about that moment? Was it earned?
I'm like 50-50 on it. So, okay, I've seen it twice now. The first time I saw it, I lost my shit. I thought it was awesome. This is great. It's a great callback to, you know, Infinity War with Scarlet Witch, and but you see even more people. Now Pepper's there, Mantis is there. It's all great. The second time I saw it, it didn't land the same way, and I wondered if it was just like the hype of the first time that like got me. And I've read some articles that are like decent. It's decent criticism of like they didn't earn it. It's too little, too late. But I mean, if they hadn't put it in, I would absolutely be complaining. So I much prefer like having that moment and having it in than to not have it at all.
If I could do a WWE analogy for a second, if I may. There's been a lot of talk about like women's wrestling. WWE is like very proud of like we're putting our women wrestlers forward. We're giving them the spotlight, and then their big move is we put them all in a 30-woman battle royal like in the undercard of WrestleMania. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Right.
You know, like there's one who's like the big spotlight star, and then like here they are. But they're not going to really do anything. You're just going to see them, and that should be enough.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it read to me.
I wish that we saw more of what they did. Like after they assemble, I want to see the different people fighting and like actually like taking people out. We didn't see that. I would have liked to see that.
When I was in the theater, again, like I was enthralled.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you about this earlier. I couldn't believe the shit that I was seeing
Yeah.
for 25 straight minutes. I was like, this is everything I've ever wanted. But when that moment came out, I was hype.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, this feels like pandering. And this almost, not in a bad way. Like, I mean, pandering is always in a bad way. But I felt like it was half pandering and half like, very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, God. It was
Trying to make up ground.
Yeah. Like, it felt unearned. You're right. Like, it felt almost patronizing in a way. Like, here's the scene. And they said the thing,
what you get,
and now they're all back, and you can't see anything because there's so much going on.
Right.
Whereas in Infinity War, where Scarlet Witch had her moment, and then Okoye is like, why was she like? That felt real because it was like, because I'm sure people in the theater are like, where are all the women characters, and like, why are we just seeing like the guys come in and like do all this stuff?
Yeah.
And it's very vocal of like that feeling, and just seeing it, I liked it. I liked how all of them like protected Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because they were like, for me, it felt as though they were like, he's too young to die. Like, we got to take care of him because everybody here has also forgotten how young this like spider boy is.
Yeah.
Like, let's take care of him. So I did love that, but I agree. I feel as though I've only seen it once. I feel as though if I saw it again, it probably wouldn't land as much as it did the first time.
Go ahead, Shane.
No, I was just gonna say you both said too little, too late, and I think it functioned as kind of a roll call. Like I don't think they were necessarily patting themselves on the back, but it was like, hey, we need you to know all of the superpowered women who have been in all of these movies. And I think, to your point, like having it be Spider-Man that they're defending is kind of like, every single character that you love has lived on the backs of these women for so long.
Yeah.
You know, like your Peppers and Shuris and Okoyes who like, they wouldn't be who they are without them. And I agree that the way that they did it felt pandering, but also it felt very comic booky, which doesn't necessarily save it, but just on a frame perspective, I was like,
fair.
this is a spread of
Yeah.
everyone
That's fair.
who needs to be
That's
in.
true.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other criticisms people have of it is you gave me this moment of women Avengers assembling and Black Widow's not there.
Yeah.
Like, she was there in Infinity War, but seriously, you're doing this after she dies? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Maybe that was also part of the intention of like, this is what she fought for.
Yeah, that's true.
They could have hammered that home a little bit more.
But when she died, one of my first thoughts was like, really, they kill off the female Avenger, the one female OG6.
First.
But then when you see the 5 of them, like dressed in black on the dock, talking about it and talking about her sacrifice, I was like, well, this this kind of makes up for it. I think like you see like the effect that she had on all of them, and of course they desperately want to bring her back. Like they're talking about that too.
Yeah. Any other small character things like you wish? Like for instance, I can't believe Nick Fury didn't get a line.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Yep.
That hurt for me. They got I Am Iron Man. They got all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Nick Fury, who started this whole thing, didn't get a line.
I felt as though this funeral was gonna end with Nick Fury making a speech where it starts with "There was an idea." And
That would have been good.
I fully saw that
just got
coming.
chills.
Yeah, I fully saw that coming.
Yeah.
And the fact that it didn't happen, I felt. First of all, why not give him a line?
Yeah.
One line.
He could have just said there was an idea.
All he had to say was
There was an idea.
Yeah.
And then cut to black.
Oh, it would have hurt.
Cut to black. And I would have been like, oh my God, that
Yeah.
was the way to end this.
I get the sense that whole funeral scene was just a logistical nightmare. Like,
Yes.
people are clearly on green screen.
Yes.
Benedict Cumberbatch being lit from a completely different angle
Yeah.
than everybody else.
Yeah.
Also, the kid from Iron Man 3 is there, and half the people in the audience were like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
You could recognize him.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I don't mind.
was
I
good.
loved it too.
Harley?
I loved
I think
it
his name's
too.
Harley.
Harley, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it too, but yeah, I was like,
The fact that he was like, Where have you been?
yeah.
Should have brought my spud gun.
My quibble, I think they did such a good job with the Captain America arc, and obviously I'm Team Peggy all the way. Like, I'm very happy with that. But I was so sad not to see more Steve and Bucky.
Yeah.
Like, after everything,
Yeah. Yes.
after the events of Civil War, after Bucky being the first loss in Infinity War, like,
So true.
like we get that hug at the end, and it's lovely. And the second time around, especially, it's very clear Bucky knows what he's doing. Like the look in his eyes, and he says, "I'm gonna miss you, buddy," and he gives him that hug. Like he knows that Cap is not coming back.
Yeah.
But besides that, there was nothing. I was like, come on, like Bucky is the other love of Cap's life. Like, give us a little bit more.
There should there should have been a moment, and maybe on rewatch I'll catch it, where in the battle they have a thing too,
Yes,
where
yes.
but there was none of that either. And
It's him and Rocket. It's just him and Rocket. in the battle.
yeah, which was like the unofficial like buddy cop movie that I think that we need in the
watch it.
future.
Yes.
Winter Rabbit.
Yeah. I was disappointed with that. I was a little more Bucky.
Well, Bucky, though, he may not have gotten his moment with Cap, but he is alive and well, and he's
Yes.
ready for whatever the MCU has in store for him next.
I hope.
And that's kind of where I want to finish out talking about here is with the future, because where does the MCU go from here? Here's more than the time travel and everything else, I was stunned that they stayed with the 5-year time skip. So now everyone is returning to a world where half of the population has been gone for 5 years, and the people who are left have aged, have moved on. It's very weird that like this bright and sunshiny Spider-Man Far From Home movie is essentially taking place in a post-apocalypse
Yeah.
where parents have lost their children, and just. Are they going to address this, or are they going to just brush this under the rug?
I think they're definitely going to address it.
think they're definitely
I think if you went and watched the Far From Home trailer right now, this movie would recontextualize the whole thing. Because the part at the beginning when he's just doing PSA shit, I'm like, oh God, he's Captain America now. Like, he's literally doing the job that they would be doing of, like, I don't know, making sure that this world is still happy and optimistic. And the fact that he has to leave is just a testament to how much his responsibility's grown. And before it was just like, yeah, obviously Spider-Man's gonna do more now.
Yeah.
But now Spider-Man has to do more, and that's scary.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, too. Spider-Man, before Infinity War / Endgame, because the two have to kind of be counted together, even though it's been a 5-year ordeal. Spider-Man has now been in a position in which he's seen a universal scale of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus there's a bad guy making weapons and flying around in New York, and I
Yeah.
gotta stop him.
Yeah.
Like, it was that, and then I'm in space, and then I'm dead, and now I'm back. And so, yeah, it makes so much sense that now Spider-Man is going to grow and become like the Spider-Man that he needs to be.
And I think we're gonna see huge Tony Stark legacy on him.
Yes.
Like, I think we're gonna see how his death affects him in Far From Home. Obviously, they didn't want to show any of that in the trailers. They didn't want to give anything away. But that moment when Tony's dying and Peter comes up to him and is like, "We won. Like, what's happening?"
Devastating.
Like, it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. And the reverse of Infinity War, of course. So, I mean, I think there's no way like we're not getting like a montage grieving scene or something.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I wonder, because this is comics, man. You could always say, like, you know, go to Doctor Strange. He's like, I've cast a spell that makes people forget. They know that something happened, but they don't know the details. You know what I mean? Like, this is I just feel like, just for, like, the interest of moving on and, like, creating new, like, IPs and moving on to the next phase, like, building that, like, you know, this is supposed to be, like, a finale, some closure, and like the whole 5-year time jump, everyone being dead, it's kind of like an albatross around the neck of like where the MCU is gonna go. You know what I mean? Like, you want kids to be able to jump in with this one the same way people jumped in with Iron Man 10 years ago and not have to like worry about all that
all
stuff.
the baggage.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they're going to brush it under the rug. They might hand wave it away as like our brains couldn't process the enormity of what happened, so we just know something happened, but we're just moving on.
I think that they're going to tie this into Mysterio's character, and I think that Mysterio is going to be one of those people that was like, in the 5 years that everybody was gone, I learned to be a hero.
Ooh.
And now that heroes are back, he feels like, you know, he feels defunct. And that's what changes him.
That could be interesting.
So, and I think that this will be the one movie in which, if any movie is going to deal with it, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
And that way, it's like, this is the entry point to the rest of the Marvel universe, like you're saying. This will be the next one to jump into. They're going to have to address it up top or throughout the themes of the movie in order for it to be digestible for the rest of the cycle to continue.
Well, Kevin Feige said that Far From Home is actually the end of this phase. Like, we all thought Endgame was the end. He's like, actually, Far From Home is the end of this phase. So then I think in the next, whatever the next movie is after that, then they'll move on.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Also, Fury's presence in Far From Home is a lot of that too, because we don't get to see him react in Endgame, and I think that was a deliberate move for him to just put all that on Peter. I think that this is going to be both of them grieving, and he's going to go through it by just dumping Iron Man responsibility on Peter, and it's going to be kind of it's going to mirror Iron Man 2, where he's kind of a thorn in Stark's side, and I'm excited for that because he's 16. He can do this shit.
So speaking of, you know, the future, Spider-Man, Far From Home coming out this year. Black Panther 2 has been announced. The Eternals are coming out. That could be just completely divorced from all this. Like, you know, they don't ever have to see Earth. And the Black Widow movie. Now, does this have to be a prequel now? Or was there something with that whole, you know, I really tried to bring her back, Tony thing? Like, did he just, like, snap and, like, accidentally wish her into existence? Like, I don't know, trapped in a glacier somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like
the
they
Avatar.
left, yeah. I feel like they very much left themselves an out to bring her back.
I think it has to be a prequel.
Yeah.
My question was, when Cap returns the Infinity Stones and he returns the Soul Stone to Vormir, does he get nothing in return for doing that? But
Is he just like dropping in a puddle of her brains?
I know, I have no idea. But Joe Russo said it's done. Like, once you've made that sacrifice, there's no bringing them back. They seem pretty set on saying there's no way that you can bring her back after that, unless they use PIM particles and cross timelines again, and the way that Gamora is now alive, I don't know. I don't know.
I hate that, yeah.
I'm wondering the same question about, like, we know that Vision is gonna come back. There has to be a way to bring back people, and he can't come back unless they use the Mind Stone. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna have to come up with ways to bring these people back that we can't possibly, like, I mean, maybe we
Either
can.
that or everything on Disney Plus is just going to be out of canon.
Ooh, I mean, I don't hate it.
I don't think that'll happen.
But like, here's what I think. I think it's difficult for you to balance both a movie canon and a series canon, especially with people
Netflix.
dropping out, people, you know, die, people don't want to do the role anymore. Like, so much can happen that you can't rely on the synergy of both a movie and a movie series and a TV series, or TV series is. So I feel as though they're just going to be like, yep, it's animated, or it's just it doesn't count in the canon, or it's before or in the middle, so that they can bring other things back. That,
Yeah,
you know,
I figured it would be like in the middle or something. But then Elizabeth Olsen said some of it's going to be set in the 50s. I'm like, what? I don't understand that at all. I don't know. I
What a
don't know.
headache.
I also thought it had to be a joke because I think WandaVision is such a stupid name
It's
for a show.
so bad.
So I really thought
like
it was
it.
like a red herring.
I like it a lot. I think WandaVision's a great name for a show.
It does beg the question of what they're going to do with their movies now, because, you know, you have this big moment. Here you go, Sam. You're Captain America now, and you're going to be on exclusively on Disney Plus with Sam and Bucky, the show.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Which
are we
I
just
will
kinda,
absolutely watch.
Of course, but like there is, you know, no matter how successful Disney Plus is, there is a difference between a streaming TV show in $1 billion movie.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Look at their Netflix stuff. They never really.
Where the hell were they?
Yeah.
Howard the
Someone
Duck.
said they were like, where was Luke Cage?
Yeah, I
Like,
saw
you
a
really
great
coulda came
meme that
through.
was like Daredevil was like fighting a bodega owner in New
Yeah.
York. Like, where was he in
Yeah.
this? Like,
Daredevil doesn't leave Hell's Kitchen.
yeah, it does.
Because then it doesn't make sense.
He's like Charlie from.
Yeah. No, he's like Sam. He's like Samwise Gamgee. He's like, I've never left the Shire.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I mean, so what do we think about it though? Like, what was interesting about the first MCU is it was just a movie, and then it was another movie, and then it was a movie that brought a bunch of movies together. But now this whole Disney Plus thing
Yeah.
is really throwing a wrench in the works.
Yeah.
Because they are going to like shuffle off some of their content to there and silo it off there, and then it's like, you know, will these movies be as special? You know, with the existence of Disney Plus, with this whole Disney dominance, and without these two huge stars around which this whole thing was based. If I may make another WWE analogy, if I mind, at the end of the 80s, Hulk Hogan left, Randy Savage left, and WWE had some very, very, very talented people there, but they were stagnating. Like, people lost the interest without those two stars, and it took them years to build like new stars like Rock and Austin that captured people's memory. So like, are we going to be in like a weird rebuilding phase while their efforts are focused on building Disney Plus and getting people to subscribe to that, and then the movies are just like, I don't know, Eternals, Space Hippies, sure.
I think
you
that's
know?
probably right, but Black Panther and Spider-Man both have huge followings already.
Of course.
So that feels they're going to carry the next phase for sure, and then hopefully Captain Marvel gets a huge fandom as well.
Plus, I didn't know who the F the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
That's
before.
true.
I mean, I wasn't following those characters, and nor were like people who don't really commit to the non-Spider-Man, non-Black Panther characters.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the most beloved characters that exist now.
Absolutely.
So I'm confident that they can make a Squirrel Girl movie that works.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's gonna be way more of those, like, you know, not B-list characters, but ones that we just know less, that they're gonna have to readapt for the future.
Yeah.
They've been pretty good at it so far.
That's a good point about the sequels, but then again, these are sequels, right?
Yeah.
Like, the only new thing we have announced is the Eternals.
Right.
You know, is there going to be? I struggle to think. I mean, we still have all these Fox characters, but it really sounds like they're a long way away. It doesn't seem like they're in a hurry. It might be like 5 years before we see any of these Fox characters in Marvel, right? So, like, what is there left to mind? Like, what characters could we possibly see from Marvel that they haven't done? Or, you know, is it fine to just do a bunch of sequels? That's what they did. They had Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, and that was pretty much it for a while. They just did sequels of those until Avengers, you know? I guess we kind of have the blueprint already, and like they're just going to do it again, just with this sort of extra wrench of Disney Plus in the works.
I agree. Disney Plus is a gamble, but I also think they're going to try to use it as like a training ground or building ground. Like, I read, you know, some people are like not that excited about Sam Wilson as Captain America, even though it has the potential to be totally awesome. So they're like, Disney Plus show gives people time to like start to love Anthony Mackie in this role, and then if that fandom really builds, then he can totally headline his own Captain America movie, and it'll be great. So I could see it working that way as well.
Not hopeful at all.
All right.
Well, no.
Because of like racism, or just because in general?
Well, I mean, obviously because of racism, but because that's something that superhero movies have dealt with since they've started.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of Falcon/Captain America, just in terms of like what the entertainment industry is becoming, because you're right. All of the they blew all the characters that have like all that recognition. So now you're gonna go through kind of like the stragglers a little bit, and you're gonna have to make us care about characters that maybe you didn't care about. Like, I'm not excited for Doctor Strange 2 or 3. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that's like your favorite hero, but it's not my favorite hero. So it's one of those things where it's like now you have to both have this proving ground, training ground thing, and you have to like throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks and spend a lot of money on that. And Disney's one of those things where it's like, they have a lot of money, but I also feel like they want to save money and not necessarily like try their hand in a million shows.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm afraid that until X-Men starts popping off, that we're not gonna, I think you're right, and I think that we're not gonna see a lot of kids in the theaters, or a lot of people in the theaters, in the way that we saw for all these other Phase 1 through 4 movies.
I will say, to your point, they did make us care about characters no one cared about with Iron Man and
like
Cap.
the Guardians and Iron Man.
Guardians, Iron Man, and
especially.
Cap.
was never
They
this
were
big.
they were B-listers,
Yeah.
you know. But now all the B-listers are gone.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem. Now you're
Yeah.
gonna get like Speedball and Living Laser and Night Thrasher and stuff like that, who are cool characters,
Yeah.
but I'm yet to be convinced. But I'm always
Sure.
willing to be proven wrong. My big concern is, again, everything's focused on streaming now, and we've seen what Marvel streaming shows look like.
Yeah.
There were some bright spots there, but there were also like a slog.
Yeah.
There were some very dark spots there too, and I worry that's just like we're never gonna top ourselves with movies ever again. Let's just focus on the streaming platform and then just drive it into the ground until people get fatigued. I'm hopeful. I don't know. We haven't seen it. It's gonna launch. When is Disney Plus launching?
This fall, I said.
This fall.
Yeah.
We've the future, no matter what happens, Disney's going to make a lot of money and corporations will continue to dominate our lives. And I think that's...
Amen.
Amen, brother. I think we should close out with just any final thoughts. Let's just go around, give a one sentence thing. What did you think about Endgame? What did you like, just your final thought on the matter.
We didn't get to talk about one of my favorite moments,
Oh,
which
please.
was Cap in the elevator scene.
Oh,
and
of
you
course.
thought it was about to
Boy.
be that fight scene again,
Oh,
but then
yeah.
he just says, "Hail Hydra."
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Also,
I absolutely
a
love
good
that.
call to the comics controversy that Marvel had last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the perfect call to that, I
Yeah.
thought. And his smirk as he
And
walked
then right
away.
after that, having him tell him that Bucky's still alive, old
Yes.
version of him, and he's,
Oh, that's the way
he's
to
like,
get him
"What?"
to let go. That was so good. That was so good. Yeah, that was
That was one,
amazing.
and then that leads into That Is America's At.
Yeah.
What a great, that whole section was great.
Yes.
And really quick to bounce off of that, I loved that in this movie you get to see what happens after they beat the bad guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's Hawkeye and Black Widow are taking out alcohol glasses,
Yeah.
and Loki's loud mouthing while his hands are cuffed,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Iron Man is cleaning up. It's just cool to see the aftermath of what happens when the superheroes win in the end.
Yeah.
So I just loved that. It was really cool to see almost an in-canon behind the scenes
Yeah.
of certain events that we've already seen. Great execution.
Great execution.
Shane, any final thoughts on Endgame?
Favorite
Endgame?
moment. I mean, it's hard to come up with a favorite moment. I just really think it was a great send-off.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see every single, all of the main Avengers get closure, except for Hulk, really. I'm
Yeah.
what are they going to do with Hulk?
Hulk was
And I'm
cool.
excited, I'm
Yeah.
excited for that, though.
I guess I could sum up my feelings on Endgame with this: is you guys work with me, you know that I've watched the corporatization of comic book culture, for a very long time, and I've been very wary about it, pretty much to the point of cynicism. So I was utterly shocked when I was in that movie and that Cap finally said Avengers Assemble, and despite my gruff rocky exterior, it worked. It got
It
me.
worked.
They succeeded. They cracked maybe the hardest shell there was to crack. It broke through the corporate the corporate sheen, and actually touched me in a profound way that I was not expecting to be touched. I thought I'd walk out thinking, okay, cool, great movie. I did it with I did it with Homecoming. I did it with a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
But they really actually did it, and I'm shocked that they did, and I'm impressed that they did, and
Yeah.
I really, really loved it, and I think they crushed it.
I think that they crushed it too.
Yeah.
I agree with you
Totally
100%. It's
Totally
the one thing in the world that could have died by cheesiness,
Yes.
that embraced it
Yes.
and created a multi-billion-dollar experience.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Well,
nailed it.
Well, hey, I want to thank you guys for coming here to talk about Avengers Endgame. Of course, we've all been bursting at the seams to talk about it, but we finally got here to do it on camera.
Yay.
So, for Versus Sharma, Shane Bosser, Andrew Rivera, I am Musla Presto, saying, see you in 11 more years.
Can't wait to do this again.
Yeah.
Bye. Love you 3000.
Love you, 3000.
Love you 3000.